Ultra-wide establishing drone shot soaring above the Great Wall of China at sunrise, the wall snaking across jagged mountain peaks shrouded in golden mist, warm orange sunlight breaking over the eastern horizon, casting long shadows across ancient stone watchtowers. Camera gliding forward just 10 feet above the wall surface, revealing its immense length vanishing into infinity. Dust particles sparkling in the light, awe-inspiring scale, majestic and timeless mood, smooth, continuous forward motion. Extreme macro close-up of black gunpowder granules slowly pouring from a weathered ceramic bowl onto a rough wooden surface, each grain catching warm amber candlelight. A rolled sheet of aged handmade paper and a bronze compass with a trembling magnetic needle visible in soft bokeh background. Dust motes floating through a single shaft of golden light. Mysterious ancient workshop atmosphere. Slow motion pour, discovery and wonder tone. Cinematic wide shot of an endless muddy yellow river cutting through a raw prehistoric landscape around 3000 BCE. No structures visible, only wild grasslands and scattered trees under a vast dramatic sky with towering cumulus clouds. A single thin column of smoke rising from a barely visible cluster of reed shelters on the riverbank. Camera in an extremely slow zoom-in toward the smoke, primordial isolation mood, muted earth and sage green palette, humanity's fragile beginning tone. Ground-level tracking shot moving through a small Neolithic farming settlement beside the Yellow River at dawn, passing clay-plastered huts with thatched roofs, a woman grinding grain on a flat stone, a man shaping a clay pot with wet hands, chickens scratching in the dirt, children running barefoot, soft, warm morning light filtering through wood smoke haze, intimate and human-scale perspective, camera floating smoothly at waist height, peaceful daily life mood, tactile ancient textures, atmospheric overhead bird's-eye shot looking straight down at the Yellow River Delta splitting into branching tributaries across flat alluvial farmland, geometric patterns of early irrigated fields visible as dark squares against pale dry earth, tiny human figures working in organized rows, warm late afternoon golden light casting everything in amber. Camera slowly rotating clockwise while holding altitude, the birth of organized civilization visible from above, order emerging from nature mood. Dramatic cinematic time-lapse showing a single location transforming across centuries, beginning as an empty riverside clearing, then sprouting reed huts, then wooden structures, then rammed earth walls rising, then Bronze Age palace rooftops appearing, population growing with each phase. The Yellow River constant in the background, sky cycling rapidly through hundreds of sunrises, camera locked in a gentle upward crane, civilization accelerating before the viewer's eyes, epic growth and ambition tone. Mythic wide shot of the legendary King Yu the Great standing knee-deep in rushing brown floodwater, wearing rough Bronze Age hemp robes and a simple jade circlet crown, directing hundreds of workers who dig drainage channels into a hillside behind him. Rain pouring heavily, dramatic gray-purple storm clouds overhead. A shaft of divine golden light breaking through clouds, illuminating only the king. Camera pushing slowly toward him, heroic and legendary tone, man versus nature mood. Visceral medium shot of catastrophic Yellow River flooding, a wall of churning brown water surging through a primitive village, a thatched roof spinning in the current, a wooden fence shattering on impact, muddy spray filling the air, dark stormy sky with sheets of rain. Camera positioned just above the waterline shaking slightly with the force, cold desaturated blue-gray tones with flashes of lightning, raw destruction and terror mood, the stakes of early civilization made visible. Intimate close-up of a Shang Dynasty shaman holding a heated bronze rod against a polished tortoiseshell oracle bone, the shell slowly cracking with an audible visual snap, thin fracture lines spreading across carved ancient Chinese characters, warm firelight from a ritual pit below casting deep orange glow upward across the shaman's concentrated face, smoke curling, shallow depth of field, sacred divination ritual atmosphere, mysterious and ancient tone, Slow, deliberate camera push-in. Grand wide shot of a Shang Dynasty bronze casting workshop built into a hillside at dusk, dozens of shirtless workers operating large clay furnaces glowing with intense orange heat, streams of molten bronze pouring into elaborate ritual vessel molds, massive sparks fountaining upward against a deep blue twilight sky, silhouettes of finished bronze tripod vessels cooling on stone platforms, camera tracking right to left through the entire operation, industrial power and artistry mood, warm to cool color contrast. Low-angle medium shot of a Shang Dynasty king enthroned in a dimly lit ceremonial hall, wearing layered dark silk robes embroidered with bronze-colored patterns and an elaborate crown of jade and bone. One hand resting on a bronze ritual axe, rows of armored guards standing motionless in shadow behind him, a single torch flame reflected in his dark, commanding eyes, camera tilting slowly upward from his hand to his face, absolute authority and divine right mood, warm amber-black palette. Sweeping aerial battle shot of the Zhou conquest, hundreds of horse-drawn war chariots charging across a golden wheat field toward a walled Shang stronghold, clouds of pale dust rising behind the advancing formation, bronze weapons glinting in harsh midday sun, the Shang defenders visible as tiny figures on the distant walls, camera swooping low over the charging chariots, then rising to reveal the full battlefield scale, thunderous momentum and inevitability mood, warm golden dust atmosphere. Cinematic overhead map-like shot of Zhou Dynasty feudal China, the landscape divided into distinct territories marked by different colored banners flying from walled noble estates, connected by dirt roads crossing rivers and forests, the central royal domain slightly larger and centered. Soft morning mist filling the valleys between territories, camera slowly descending from extreme height, fragile political order visible as geography, partition and hierarchy tone, soft green gold gray palette. Tense medium two-shot of two Zhou Dynasty feudal lords facing each other across a stone negotiation table inside a candlelit wooden hall. One lord's hand gripping a dagger beneath the table, visible to the camera, but not to the other lord. Bamboo scrolls and territorial maps spread between them, flickering warm candlelight creating unstable shadows on their faces. Camera slowly dollying sideways to reveal the hidden weapon. Political betrayal and suspicion mood, thriller-like tension. Devastating ultra-wide aerial shot of a warring state's battlefield at the end of a massive engagement. The ground churned into dark mud mixed with fallen soldiers and broken chariots stretching across an entire river valley. 7 different colored war banners scattered and torn across the field. Thick smoke from burning siege equipment drifting across the scene. Cold, overcast gray light. Camera slowly panning across the full horror from high altitude. Scale of destruction mood. Somber and exhausted tone. Haunting slow-motion medium shot of a single tethered war banner, deep crimson silk torn and scorched, fluttering on a broken wooden pole planted in rubble of a destroyed city gate. Ash particles floating downward like gray snow, blurred background showing smoldering ruins and collapsed walls. Shallow depth of field, keeping only the banner in sharp focus. Cold, desaturated palette with one spot of faded red. Silence after violence mood. Camera completely still except for the banner's movement. Warm medium shot of Confucius, a dignified elderly Chinese man with a long flowing white beard, kind deep-set eyes, wearing a dark navy scholarly robe with a simple cloth belt, seated cross-legged on a woven mat beneath a massive ancient ginkgo tree. Golden afternoon sunlight dappling through broad fan-shaped leaves, a bamboo scroll open across his lap. Camera slowly orbiting counterclockwise around the group. Wisdom and transmission of knowledge mood, gentle and reverent tone. Ethereal wide shot of Laozi, a thin elderly sage with long loose white hair flowing in a gentle breeze, wearing an unbleached natural linen robe walking alone across a narrow stone bridge over a misty mountain gorge. Dense white fog filling the chasm below. Towering dark green pine-covered peaks barely visible through clouds on either side. Soft, diffused, cool blue-green light with no harsh shadows. A single white crane gliding silently past him. Camera positioned at bridge level, slowly pulling backward as he approaches. Profound solitude and transcendence mood. Cinematic overhead close-up of two hands writing with a fine-tipped ink brush on a fresh bamboo strip scroll. The ink characters spelling out ancient Chinese military strategy text, each brushstroke precise and deliberate. A bronze dagger and a miniature carved wooden battlefield map with tiny figurines visible on the desk beside the scroll. Warm golden oil lamp light from the upper right, thin smoke from an incense stick drifting across the frame. Camera slowly descending closer to the writing hand. Strategic intellect and deadly calm mood.
26. Staggering wide aerial shot of Great Wall construction along a steep mountain ridge during the Qing Dynasty. A continuous line of thousands of laborers stretching for miles along the ridge like human ants, carrying stones on their backs up crude wooden ramps. The partially completed wall visible as a jagged stone spine along the mountaintop. Harsh, unforgiving midday sun beating down. Camera sweeping forward along the construction line, revealing its seemingly infinite length. Monumental human sacrifice and engineering ambition mood. Epic and sobering tone. 27. Disturbing medium shot of Qin Dynasty soldiers forcibly collecting bamboo scroll books from a scholar's private library, throwing armfuls of scrolls into wooden carts. An elderly scholar in white robes reaching desperately toward his confiscated writings, being restrained by a guard. Warm interior lamplight contrasting with cold blue moonlight through the doorway. Camera tracking backward out of the room as the collection continues. Cultural destruction and intellectual persecution mood. Warm to cold lighting transition, symbolizing loss. 28. Chaotic wide shot of the fall of the Qin Dynasty. A mob of peasant rebels wielding farm tools as weapons, breaking through a burning palace gate. Wooden doors splintering inward. Orange flames consuming the carved eaves above. The imperial Qin black dragon banner falling from its pole into the fire. Panicked court officials fleeing through a side passage. Camera positioned inside the courtyard as rebels pour through the gate toward the viewer. Revolutionary violence and regime collapse mood. Hot orange-red dominant palette. 30. Majestic establishing aerial shot of Han Dynasty Chang'an at its zenith. A perfectly grid-planned imperial capital stretching across a river plain. Enormous palace complex with curved green-tiled roofs dominating the center. Wide boulevards lined with merchant shops and residences. Ox carts and pedestrians filling the streets. Green parklands and waterways visible. Warm golden morning light bathing the entire city. Camera descending from high altitude in a slow spiral toward the palace gates. Prosperity and imperial confidence mood. Rich, warm tones. Intimate close-up of a Han Dynasty artisan's hands carefully lifting a freshly made sheet of wet paper from a bamboo screen mold. Water dripping through the mesh in thin streams, the translucent pale fiber sheet glistening. A wooden rack behind him holding dozens of drying paper sheets in graduated stages from wet to dry. Natural soft window light illuminating the workshop. Steam visible rising from warm water vats. Camera pushing in slowly on the paper lifting moment. Quiet revolution and invention mood. Tactile detail emphasized. Expansive wide shot of a Silk Road trade caravan crossing a dramatic desert landscape at golden hour. A long, sinuous line of heavily loaded Bactrian camels casting impossibly long shadows across rippled orange sand dunes. Merchants in diverse Central Asian and Chinese clothing walking alongside. The silhouette of a distant Chinese frontier watchtower on the horizon behind them. Vast, empty sky transitioning from bold to deep violet overhead. Camera tracking laterally as the caravan passes in slow, steady motion. Trade connecting civilizations mood. Adventure and vastness tone. 32. Wide shot inside a Han Dynasty civil service examination hall, a grand wooden hall with high ceilings and rows of individual writing desks extending into deep perspective. Hundreds of young male scholars in identical white robes writing with ink brushes on paper scrolls under the watchful eye of stern-robed officials pacing between rows. Shafts of natural light from high clerestory windows creating dramatic diagonal beams through dusty air. Camera gliding slowly forward between the rows at desk height. Meritocratic ambition and nervous concentration mood. Warm institutional light. Atmospheric wide shot of a misty river plain divided into 3 distinct military encampments during the Three Kingdoms era, each camp marked by tall war banners of red, blue, and yellow-green, cooking fires creating pools of warm light in the pre-dawn blue darkness, armed sentries visible as silhouettes along each camp's perimeter, the river reflecting the 3 different firelight colors, thick fog rolling between the camps, creating natural barriers. Camera positioned high on a hillside, slowly panning across all 3 camps, legendary rivalry and uneasy standoff mood. Grand aerial tracking shot following the Zhou Dynasty Grand Canal during construction. Camera flying forward along the partially dug waterway, cutting a straight line through flat green Chinese farmland. Thousands of workers visible as organized dots digging along both banks with hand tools. Completed sections already filled with brown water carrying small boats. Dirt mounds piled along the sides. Warm afternoon sun casting sharp shadows. Camera maintaining steady forward motion, revealing miles of progress. Massive infrastructure and human labor mood. Ambitious engineering tone. Vibrant street-level tracking shot moving through Tang Dynasty Chang'an's western market. Camera floating forward through a bustling bazaar, passing a Persian textile merchant displaying colorful silk bolts, a Sogdian jeweler showing lapis lazuli to a Chinese noblewoman, an Indian Buddhist monk buying incense, a Central Asian musician playing a pipa lute, aromatic food stalls with steam rising, colorful awnings and foreign script signs everywhere, warm golden afternoon light, dense crowd energy, cosmopolitan cultural crossroads mood, sensory overload tone. Serene close-up of a Tang Dynasty poet, a refined Chinese man in his 40s with a neat short beard wearing a dark blue silk robe and a black scholar's cap, sitting alone on a carved stone bench in a moonlit palace garden, holding a translucent porcelain wine cup near his lips, eyes gazing thoughtfully at a full silver moon reflected in a still pond before him, white peony petals scattered on the dark water surface, cool blue-silver moonlight with warm golden lantern glow from a distant pavilion, camera in a slow orbital move around him, melancholic beauty and artistic genius mood, dynamic medium shot of a Tang Dynasty alchemist in a cluttered stone laboratory, shelves of labeled ceramic jars behind him, suddenly recoiling as a mixture of sulfur, charcoal, and saltpeter ignites in a bronze mortar with a violent bright white-orange flash, his loose hair and robe blown backward by the shockwave, sparks spraying across the workbench, igniting scattered paper notes, thick, acrid smoke instantly filling the room, camera capturing the explosion moment in half-speed slow motion with the flash illuminating every detail. Accidental discovery changes history mood. Accidental discovery changes history mood. Precise overhead shot of Song Dynasty movable type printing in action. 2 hands carefully arranging dozens of small, individually carved ceramic character blocks into a flat iron frame on a workbench, each block showing a single Chinese character in mirror reverse, a completed frame nearby being inked with a dark roller, a freshly printed page peeling off another frame showing crisp black text on pale paper. Warm workshop lantern light, extreme detail on each tiny character block's carved surface, camera slowly descending closer,
information revolution mood, meticulous craftsmanship tone. Apocalyptic wide shot of the Mongol invasion of northern China, a massive dust cloud on the flat steppe horizon, resolving into tens of thousands of mounted Mongol warriors galloping at full speed toward a lone Chinese border fortress, arrows already darkening the sky in a thick volley, the fortress gate beginning to splinter under a battering ram, defenders on the walls firing crossbows desperately. Harsh, cold, gray winter light, camera positioned just above and behind the fortress wall, looking outward at the approaching doom, overwhelming, unstoppable force mood, terror and futility tone. Opulent interior wide shot of Kublai Khan's Yuan Dynasty throne room, a vast crimson lacquered pillars reaching to a gold coffered ceiling, the Mongol emperor seated on an enormous gilded throne wearing a fur-trimmed golden silk robe and a rounded Mongol crown, courtiers of diverse ethnicities, Chinese, Persian, Mongol, and European, presenting tribute objects on silk cushions, warm golden lamplight reflecting off polished marble floors, camera slowly dollying forward through the hall toward the throne, imperial wealth beyond imagination mood, cultural fusion tone. Epic wide shot of the Ming Dynasty treasure fleet assembled in a vast Chinese harbor, the colossal flagship of Admiral Zhang dwarfing the dozens of smaller support vessels around it, each ship with multiple masts carrying billowing red and gold